Have you ever stood in front of a jar of nuts in your kitchen and thought ... Is this little thing really good for me? Not long ago, my aunt, 74 years old, shared that every morning she started her day with a seed, because it was said to be good for your health. But after a few months, she started to feel bloated, had trouble sleeping, and strangely, her blood pressure medication wasn't as effective as before. We reviewed her diet, and surprisingly, the culprit was a harmless idea. The problem isn't eating nuts. It's which ones, how many, and when. In today's video, I'll help you unlock little-known facts about familiar nuts. For types of nuts that seem small but contain the power to help protect memory, sleep, and even the heart and bones in old age. For nuts that can secretly harm you, especially if you're taking medication to treat or control your blood pressure or blood sugar. And to mistakes that almost everyone makes when eating nuts that make the benefits disappear, sometimes even counterproductive. You don't have to change all your habits, just choose the right ones for your body. What about you? Are you eating nuts every day? And have you ever noticed how your body reacts after eating them? Let's start this exploration together, because sometimes the smallest things make the biggest changes. Let's get started, shall we? Mary lives alone in suburban Oregon. Every afternoon, she sits by the window, listening to the radio and munching on a few almonds. Just to be safe, she jokes. But really, she eats almonds every day as part of her self-care ritual, a small habit she calls bone insurance. At age 70, after a slip and fall that resulted in a cracked wrist, she started paying more attention to her bone health. Instead of rushing to take high-quality supplements, she started with small changes, and almonds were one of them. Almonds are more than just a crunchy snack. They are a great natural source of calcium, which helps keep bones strong, something seniors especially need as the risk of osteoporosis and bone loss increases with age. But what really sets almonds apart is magnesium, a mineral that helps calcium stay in the skeleton, rather than build up in the arteries. In addition, the vitamin E in almonds is one of the most powerful antioxidants for the brain. It acts as a layer of armor to protect nerve cells from aging. When you eat almonds with the skin on, you also get flavonoids, which work together with vitamin E to protect cells in a silent but effective way. Do you suffer from bloating, indigestion, or irregularity? Almonds have the answer. With their nutrient-dense qualities, just 15 to 20 nuts a day can help improve digestion, relieve constipation, and support healthier palm sugars, something few people notice when thinking about nuts. Mary didn't change the world. She just made a tiny change to her daily snack. A few months later, her bone density test results showed a slight but noticeable improvement. Not much, she says, but enough to make me feel like I am on the right track. The lesson here: you don't have to wait for your health to speak up. Sometimes, just slowly grinding 15 almonds a day, unsalted, unsweetened, and grinding them well, is an investment in a future with strong legs and a bright mind. If almonds are bone protectors, then the next nut is a brain charger, both for memory and sleep. Just by looking at its shape, you can guess it. That's right, we're talking about the dog nuts, great friends of the aging brain. Mr. James, 76, is a former literature teacher in a small town in Vermont. Every night before going to bed, he has an unexpected habit: eating exactly 7 halves of dog nuts. No more, no value. When I asked him why he was so meticulous, he smiled and said, "This is a little gift I give my brain every day." You see, dog nuts not only resemble the brain in shape, they also nourish the brain in a way that few foods can. They contain ALA, a plant-based form of omega-3 that is extremely important in keeping brain cells healthy and functioning, helping nerve signals to travel more smoothly. In our 60s, when memory and concentration begin to slow, these nutrients are like a gentle current that keeps the lights on. But the benefits of dogs don't stop there. They are rich in polyphenols, plant compounds that help fight silent inflammation, which is the cause behind many age-related diseases such as Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and depression. A study from UCLA once showed that seniors who regularly eat dogs have higher cognitive scores than those who don't. And here's an interesting thing that not everyone should know. Dogs also contain natural melatonin, a hormone that helps the body regulate its biological rhythm and improve sleep quality. But to promote this effect, the timing of eating is very important. Mr. James, many people advised, but he found that he had a slight bloating and no improvement in his sleep. Only when he switched to eating at night, about an hour before bedtime, did he start to sleep more deeply and wake up less often. And that's also why he counts nuts so carefully. What's the little lesson here? Even the best foods need to be eaten in the right way, at the right time. A small handful of walnuts at night not only helps you sleep better, but is also a way to protect your memory, keep your mind alert, even in your 70s and 80s. And if walnuts are a silent companion for the brain, the next nut is a warrior to protect the eyes and heart, especially when blood pressure starts to fluctuate with age. They are small, have a strange green color, and the shell is as hard as the patience of an elderly person. Yes, I'm talking about pistachios. Every time I go to my grandparents' house, I always see a small porcelain bowl placed right in the middle of the tea table. It's not for candy like when I was a kid, but a bowl full of pistachios. My grandmother, now 82 years old, used to joke. Every time I peel a nut, I practice patience and keep my eyes active. At first, I thought she was joking, but after learning more, I realized that she was doing more than the nutritional advice from doctors. Pistachios are not only beautiful in their soothing green color, but also contain a series of valuable nutrients for the elderly. First, they are rich in lutein and zeaxanthin, two antioxidants that are considered natural sunscreens for the eyes, especially the macula. This is the place that helps us read books, recognize people, and maintain sharp images, but is also the most vulnerable place when we age. My grandmother used to have trouble reading at night, but after eating pistachios every day about 40 to 50 unsalted and wearing blue light filtering glasses, her vision improved dramatically. You can't turn back time, she says, but you can slow it down a little. In addition to the eyes, pistachios are also a gift to the heart. They are rich in potassium, a mineral that helps remove excess sodium, thereby lowering blood pressure in a gentle, natural way. Unlike drugs, potassium doesn't make you dizzy or tired, but works silently like a good friend. That's why cardiologists often recommend pistachios over other salty snacks. And did you notice? Pistachios also provide slow therapy for the mind. Having to peel each nut, bit by bit, makes us eat more slowly, more relaxed, and often only eat the right amount. For many seniors, the moment of sitting alone to peel the seeds is also a time for them to reflect, breathe, and simply enjoy. It doesn't always require expensive vitamins or advanced support equipment. Sometimes a handful of pistachios a day, simple, slow, and sufficient, is the most sustainable way to take care of the heart and eyes. And if pistachios are the gatekeepers of the eyes and heart, the next nut is the silent hero for the thyroid gland, which controls the body's energy, mood, and metabolism. It sounds big, but the secret is just 1 to 2 nuts a day. Yes, we are talking about Brazil nuts, the small but mighty nut. When my next door neighbor, Uncle Robert, turned 70, he often said that he felt slow. Not because of weak and shaky legs, but because of a strange kind of exhaustion, getting enough sleep, but still feeling tired, eating carefully, but still gaining weight, mood swings like spring weather forecasts. After a few checkups, the doctor discovered that he had signs of mild hypothyroidism, a fairly common condition in older people, where the thyroid gland no longer functions as smoothly as before. But instead of rushing to use hormone replacement, the doctor advised him to start with his diet, and especially suggested something very surprising: Brazil nuts. You may not have noticed these large, round, ivory-colored nuts, but just 1 to 2 nuts a day contain enough selenium, a trace mineral that is extremely important for thyroid health. The thyroid gland is like the energy coordination center for the whole body. Selenium helps the enzymes in the thyroid gland function properly, producing enough hormones to regulate metabolism, temperature, and even mood. Without it, you may feel tired, have cold hands and feet, or feel lethargic for no apparent reason. After about 2 months of regularly eating to Brazil nuts every morning, Uncle Robert began to notice small changes, sleeping more deeply, no longer feeling cold inside as before, and especially feeling much more relaxed. It was like a switch was turned on, he said, not suddenly, but definitely. In addition to the thyroid, the selenium in Brazil nuts is also a powerful antioxidant, protecting cells from damage and boosting immunity, something indispensable when the body begins to enter the slow but not stop years. Not all health problems require medication. Sometimes, what the body needs is just a very small amount of the right thing at the right time. And Brazil nuts are a clear example. A type of eye nuts that seem normal can rekindle your inner motivation. Just remember, 1 to 2 nuts a day is enough. Eating too much selenium can also be counterproductive, so consider this a small gift, not much, just regular. And after 4 types of nuts full of benefits, it's time for us to look at the other side of the table, nuts that seem harmless, but if not careful, can silently harm the heart, joints, or even reduce the effectiveness of the medicine you are taking. We start with a very familiar name appearing in every snack box, every jar of butter, and even in the childhood of many Americans. Peanuts. Aunt Helen, a close friend of my mother, this year 75 years old, has the habit of drinking tea every afternoon with a small cookie. But after she discovered that she was pre-diabetic, that cookie has gradually been replaced by a few small, round, reddish-brown nuts. It's the hazelnut, he says. People don't talk about it much, but my body thanks it every day. Hazelnuts, also known as hazelnuts, are a hidden nutritional treasure. They're not as well known as almonds, nor are they as well known as walnuts. But if you're looking for a nut to help your heart and blood sugar, this may be the option you've been missing for too long. Hazelnuts are rich in monounsaturated fats, the good fats that help lower LDL bad cholesterol and raise HDL good cholesterol. They also contain folate, which helps lower homocysteine, an amino acid linked to stroke and heart disease. Plus, hazelnuts are high in vitamin E, which helps prevent the oxidation of cholesterol, thereby protecting blood vessel walls. And what about blood sugar? Hazelnuts have a very low G, are high in fiber and contain manganese, a mineral that helps metabolize glucose. Helen says that after a few months of adding about 10 to 15 hazelnuts to her snacks, her HbA1c, a measure of her average blood sugar, started to drop slightly without increasing her medication. One thing she likes most is the feeling of fullness and comfort after eating. It makes me crave less sweets, she laughs, and I can still enjoy my afternoon tea without feeling guilty. Sometimes what's good for you doesn't always have to be loud or flashy. Hazelnuts do their job quietly, nourishing your heart, stabilizing your blood sugar, little by little. And if you give your body a chance, it will respond. Try adding a few hazelnuts to your snack, or sprinkling them on your morning oatmeal. Not a lot, just a little. And after talking about the quiet but effective nut like hazelnuts, it's time to return to a name so familiar that it's sometimes overrated. Peanuts are found in sandwiches, snack bars, and the kitchen cabinets of most American households. But for older adults, especially those on medication, this nut can cause more trouble than you think. George, a former Marine, now 78, has had a habit that has not changed for decades. Every night, he watches the news with a jar of roasted peanuts next to him. I've been eating them since I was on the battleship, he says. It's like a part of my youth. But then, a few months ago, he was hospitalized for a minor internal bleeding. When the doctor asked him about his medications and diet, he told him he was taking warfarin, a common blood thinner. And then the doctor paused when he mentioned peanuts. What few people know is that peanuts, although they are not actually nuts but legumes, contain significant amounts of vitamin K, which can interfere with the effectiveness of blood thinners. Warfarin works by reducing the effects of vitamin K in the body, helping the blood not clot too quickly. But if you eat a lot of foods containing vitamin K, even harmless ones like peanuts, the drug's effectiveness can be reduced, leading to blood that is harder to control, either too thin or not thin enough. Not only that, peanuts are also rich in omega-6, a type of fat that when consumed in excess compared to omega-3 can promote silent inflammation in the body, affecting the joints, blood vessels, and even the brain. And another potential danger, aflatoxin, a mold toxin that can develop in peanuts if stored improperly, especially in hot and humid places. As we age, our livers don't work as hard as they used to, and even small amounts of aflatoxin can put a strain on our detoxification system. After that hospitalization, George switched to unsalted almonds and walnuts. I still crave peanuts, he says, but now I know what's a treat and what's a habit to say goodbye to. Not everything familiar is benign. Sometimes, the things we are attached to the longest can have a sneaky effect on our health, especially as we age and medications become a part of our daily routine. If you're on blood thinners or blood pressure medication, Talk to your doctor about your diet, even something as simple as peanut butter. And if peanuts are an old friend who needs to be rethought, the next nut is a favorite snack because of its smooth, easy to eat texture, but it's also a potential health hazard for people with diabetes or kidney stones. You guessed it, right? Yes, we're talking about cashews. My family friend Linda is a very discerning eater. At 68, she keeps a slim figure, has a rosy complexion, and always has a small bag of cashews in her handbag. My fancy snack, she laughs. However, during a routine health check, she received news that her blood sugar had started to exceed the safe threshold. She was surprised because she doesn't eat cakes or drink soda. So what's the reason? The answer comes from that seemingly harmless habit, eating cashews every day without controlling the amount. Cashews, soft, delicious and attractive, have a characteristic that few people pay attention to. They contain much higher carbs than other nuts. In 1 ounce, about 18 nuts, there are nearly 9 grams of carbohydrates, nearly twice as much as almonds or walnuts. For people with prediabetes or who need to control their blood sugar, eating a lot of cashews can cause blood sugar to spike, especially when eaten on an empty stomach or without combining it with protein and fiber. Not only that, cashews are also low in fiber, so they don't slow down sugar absorption as effectively as other nuts. Another thing to note, they contain a lot of oxalate, a compound that can increase the risk of kidney stones in some people, especially when eaten regularly over a long period of time. After understanding the cause, Linda did not say goodbye to cashews completely, but reduced the amount, ate more slowly, and always combined it with a few slices of apple and a spoonful of almond butter to create a more balanced snack. The result? Her blood sugar level stabilized after 3 months, and she still kept her favorite snack in a controlled way. Not all healthy foods are suitable for everyone. Even a seemingly benign nut can become a burden to the body if you do not understand its nutritional nature and how to eat it properly. If you are managing your blood sugar, do not hesitate to read the ingredient list carefully, learn about the G-index, and listen to your body every day. And after cashews, a soft but troublesome nut, we come to another name: luxurious, fatty, considered the essence of desserts, but a big challenge for weight and cardiovascular health in old age. That is macadamia nuts. Margaret, 71 years old, is extremely sophisticated in the way she takes care of herself. Every afternoon, she often makes herself a cup of Earl Grey tea, sits on the porch and sips a few macadamia nuts as a small ritual of enjoyment for a peaceful old age. Soft, creamy, but not to feeling perfect, she told me during a conversation. Indeed, macadamias have a flavor that is easy to fall in love with at first sight. Rich, smooth, melts on the tongue, not chewy like almonds, not bitter like walnuts. But because they are so easy to eat and so easy to overdose, they are also one of the most challenging nuts for older adults who are trying to control their weight and blood lipids. In just 1 ounce, about 10 to 12 nuts, macadamias contain nearly 200 calories and more than 20 grams of fat, the highest number among nuts. Although most of the fat is monounsaturated, good for the heart, there are still about 3 grams of saturated fat, which, if eaten regularly and in large quantities, can have a negative impact on LDL cholesterol, especially for those at risk of cardiovascular disease. Another thing that few people notice, because macadamia nuts are soft and easy to swallow, older people tend to eat more without realizing it. Without a hard shell or strong flavor to restrain them, it's easy to accidentally eat half a bag. And when metabolism slows down with age, excess calories will quickly turn into fat, especially in the belly area, the hardest part to lose as you age. After gaining more than 6 pounds in 2 months without knowing why, Margaret started tracking her daily food intake. She discovered that her afternoon tea with 20 to 30 macadamia nuts had inadvertently become an extra 400 to 500 calories a day. After cutting back to 5 to 6 nuts a day and adding a few slices of apple instead, her weight gradually returned to its original level, while still maintaining her favorite relaxing habit. Not everything that's light and small is dangerous. Macadamias offer some nutritional value, but like all good things, quantity and frequency are key. For seniors, controlling calories, fat and body weight is not just about appearance, but also about long-term heart, joint and blood sugar health. If you love macadamia nuts, make them a spice rather than a main dish. A few sprinkled on salads or eaten with fresh fruit will be a more balanced and manageable way. And finally, after the nuts that are often misunderstood for their delicious taste or elegant appearance, we meet a small, seemingly harmless nut, but it can cause strange reactions to the taste buds and even disrupt the process of taking medication. Have you ever eaten a pine nut and then had a bitter, metallic taste in your mouth for days? We're talking about pine nuts and the little-known facts about them. Uncle Alan, 74, is a true foodie in gear. He loves to cook, likes to try new recipes, and has a habit of sprinkling some pine nuts on salads or pasta whenever he cooks. For fragrance, for elegance, he said. But then, one week he called with a strange voice. My mouth feels bitter like metal. Everything I eat feels strange. Drinking water doesn't help. No fever, no cold, no new medication. After a few days of monitoring, the doctor concluded that he was suffering from a rare but real reaction called pine mouth, a temporary loss of taste or a metallic bitter taste after eating pine nuts. This phenomenon can last for several days to a week, and although not life-threatening, it causes loss of appetite, greatly affecting mood, eating, and weight, especially for the elderly who already have poor appetite. But pine nuts are not just a risk to taste. They also contain plant compounds that can interfere with the absorption of certain medications, especially cholesterol-lowering drug statins, blood pressure medications, and mood-regulating medications. While not a common risk, for older adults who often take 3 to 5 medications a day, anything that interferes with absorption is a concern. In addition, pine nuts are high in polyunsaturated fats, which are susceptible to oxidation if not stored properly. When the oil in the nuts goes rancid, it can become mildly inflammatory to the digestive system and joints, aggravating chronic inflammation in older adults. Uncle Alan then switched to unsalted pumpkin and sunflower seeds, still flavorful and beautiful, but lighter and safer. I still love pine nuts, he says, but now I only eat them occasionally and always refrigerated. Not all nuts are body-friendly, especially when the body is on medication. Pine nuts may be delicious and exotic, but they are also a reminder that being selective about your food choices is part of proactive health. If you have ever eaten pine nuts and felt your taste buds change, don't worry, but don't ignore them either. Pay attention, adjust, and if necessary, ask your doctor or nutritionist about the appropriateness of your portion size. So we have gone through 9 types of nuts together, each with a story, a lesson, and a new perspective on health in old age. But one important thing remains. It's not just about choosing the right nuts, it's about eating them the right way. Many people are making 2 common mistakes that prevent nuts, no matter how good they are, from working or even having the opposite effect. Let's explore those 2 mistakes in the final part, so you can truly turn nuts into steady companions on your journey to a healthy, long, and happy life. John, 73, is extremely disciplined about his diet. He had read somewhere that nuts are superfoods, so he poured a handful into his cereal every morning, added a few to his lunch salad, and in the afternoon, had a mixed nut snack. I was doing the hard thing, he says, but after just a few months, he began to gain a little weight. His cholesterol didn't drop as expected, and his stomach sometimes felt weirdly heavy. What happened? The truth is, even the best nuts can backfire if eaten the wrong way. Mistake 1. Overeating because more is better. Nuts are nutritious, but they're also high in calories and fat. Just 1 ounce of almonds has about 160 calories. 10 macadamia nuts can top to 100. For the elderly with slow metabolism, eating too many nuts can easily lead to silent weight gain, affecting blood pressure, blood sugar, and cardiovascular health. Solution: consider nuts as a small part of a meal, not the main dish. Maintaining 15 to 20 almonds or 7 to 9 walnut halves or 1 to 2 Brazil nuts per day is enough to make a difference. Mistake 2. Eating the wrong type, wrong goal. Not all nuts are suitable for everyone. People with prediabetes eat too much cashews, blood sugar increases. People taking anticoagulants eat peanuts, affects the effectiveness of the drug. People with sensitive digestion eat rancid stale nuts, prone to bloating, inflammation. Solution: choose nuts that are suitable for your specific health condition and store them properly. Keep the nuts in a sealed jar, in a cool place, preferably in the refrigerator if used for a long time. After Uncle John reduced his portion size, rotated nuts instead of eating many types at once, and started chewing slowly and thoroughly, combined with fruit or oatmeal, he not only improved his digestion, but also lost 5 pounds in 2 months, feeling lighter and healthier. Nuts are not a miracle drug, but if understood and used correctly, they can absolutely become a powerful companion on the journey to healthy living in old age. It's not about eating a lot, but eating intentionally, listening to your body, and letting nutrition serve you, not following the general trend. And here, we have gone through 10 parts together, from nuts that help nourish memory, heart, bones, and joints, to nuts that seem healthy but turn out to be a need to be careful. But the most important question is, from tomorrow, which nuts will you choose and how will you eat them? Join me in the final section, where we will wrap up all of today's lessons into simple, easy to remember principles that you can apply immediately every day.